tax specialist, he gets no value. And then if you don't train him on others, he's not a complete partner. You see, because the way I look at it today, if I go to a client, I've got to sell KPMG, not tax.
Yeah.
And because the client, I may want to sell tax, but the guy may want to buy something else. So I just go and tell him tax, he doesn't want to do that. So that's, I think it's a very good point you raised.
No, and if I may just quote a recent survey that was conducted by the Conference Board. It's the CEO survey that gets released every year, and I think the one in 2012 had about 776 respondents, and they had I think they had a set of 20 odd human capital strategies that people adopt to attract and develop and engage talent across the board, and the top two human capital strategies across most regions in the world, and this was a global survey, were growing people internally and improving leadership development programs. So this was not just at the senior level, but leadership development across all cadres of management.
Yeah.
And if I think about these two in the with the perspective of consulting, the consulting environment, it's not just that they're powerful human capital strategies, they're also very important for business continuity. At the end of the day, consulting is all about relationship management. So if we can look at and if we can identify those individuals within the organization who are really strong, dedicated relationship managers, and then train them or upskill them through various learning media into sales and project management and whatever other skills that we need typically for our companies. I think that's going to create a really huge impact in the way that we can then gain stickiness and retain that talent in our organization.
I'd like to add on, in some of the clients, especially in consulting environments, customers are very people specific, they become very people specific. A key account manager handling a customer for 2 years and 3 years, and if he or she has done a good job, customer will always look back, is that person is still there with you, why don't you put that person to manage our account. So as a consulting, as an organization, since they do not have anything tangible to sell, it's a people driven, it's a knowledge driven, it's a blood for the organization, right? So one, any structured consulting company cannot afford to lose too many people, otherwise they're kind of bleeding in their business.
Too many at every level or at certain
See, at certain level, when you look at a very front level, they do not have a customer interface. Right.
It's execution.
Yeah, it's execution and operations where you use that. Moment you start putting them to a customer interface, by the time you have done your homework on the individual, you have groomed that person to a certain level where the person is able to take care of your customers, your key account management and so on. And that person actually becomes your product, service, delivery, everything within itself. So that person is a consulting firm within himself, right? And he or she manages your certain amount of revenue or customers for yourself. And customer always look back for that, because that has been a very, very live example. Even if a new company comes to hire a person for a particular practice, they'll say, get me a guy who's handling government accounts. They never say, get me a guy who's a good consultant. They'll say, get me a guy who's handling telecom as industry. Get me a guy who's been handling a banking or investment banking.
Because they'll get those clients.
Yes, so they'll get those clients, they'll have existing relationship, they'll know what is the insight of a functional area. So functional and the customer, both they get it. So the companies do not want to lose the people at that level, but yes, the focus should go down, right? Where the grooming and like uplifting of the resources happens into a similar segment, where once you have recruited, you make sure that you don't lose those people for no reason.
What is the difference in the training when you recruit fresh talent? What is the difference in the training when you're inducting them? I'm sure there is a period of training that goes in. To the training that you impart to say people who are 4 years in the system, 8 years in the system, and so on. Because I'm sure ongoing training is required at every level.
Yeah.
What is the qualitative difference in that training? When you're recruiting fresh talent, they bring just bookish knowledge. They don't have too much of industry exposure, and there is a lot of, I guess that your training would be more in the softer skills, leadership, working in a team, communication.
So for example, when we take fresh graduates or fresh chartered accountants, they go through very basic training of 10-15 days, which will not necessarily softer skills, but it's about the firm, it's about the values, it's also about technical things, how will you do the work, how will you deal with the client, how will you deal with the situation, the real life situation, and so you're literally taught everything from there. But that's literally their first job. So they're out of college, and also discipline, all those other things which go with it, and also the very much do's and don'ts. Like for example, in us, all our information that we do is very confidential. So how would you deal, because you got access to some information, because you are this. So how do you keep that information to yourself? Do not discuss in lift lobbies and hotel lobbies and all these kind of things. So, so the do's and don'ts are taught to them. Dressing, how you come across in your decorum, and everything, and things around quality, things around. So those are the emphasis of training. But when we talk of a more senior level person, then there could be trainings around presentation skills, around things, technical skills. It could be on their job, what they need. If it is a very much a lateral hire, like say you take somebody at a partner level, let's say in KPMG, then we have to actually imbibe a lot of our values, a lot of our risk management. For us, risk management is like key. I mean, if we don't have it, we collapse. So how do you keep your personal independence, client independence? All those are very, very important, and they have to be, because that person may not have been involved. Suppose he's come from industry. If it's come from another big four, it's okay, because they would have a similar. But he's come from industry, there's a huge amount of learning to be done there, because the way he works, the client acceptance, and etc. So those different trainings can happen.
When does a candidate start seeing a career path in your organization? I'm sure they come in the beginning, the salary could be allure, the organization's brand itself is allure. When does the candidate start seeing a career in your organization?
With Mansour, we have a 30, 60, 90 days plan. With post 90 days plan, they are aware where exactly they will be going. We were earlier doing that. We were making them industry specific. So suppose some consultant is working for ITS industry, will work for IT's industry. But we exactly realized that unless we rotate them and we give them exposure, they would move up. So stability become very, very high when we started moving up. We give them exposure for the various locations now. We initially we give them a lot of training on collaboration, because we are mentally preparing them that they need to collaborate with the other functions as well. Earlier, suppose if a consultant was just hiring for ITES particular industry, right now he is supposed to deliver on ITES and IT as well. So unless he understands the technology very, very well, he won't be able to even talk to the client. So suppose RBS is looking for somebody in F&A operations, but RBS is also looking for IT experts. Also they look for business analysts. They also look for analytics folks. So unless this guy, my consultants are trained, he will not be able to deliver what a client expects. So we give them a path post 90 days.
I think it's during the hiring process. That's what I've seen. And I can speak from ex-KPMG parlance, and I can speak from the Jones Lang LaSalle parlance. I think candidates these days, the smart ones for sure, are very keen to understand career ladders.
They want to understand that.
See, your point is so valid that they want to know where their career path is. But if you ask me honestly, when does I'm just taking my own firm, like we have got about 7,000 people, and there are only 300 partner directors. I mean, you go up, so you know where the chain is going. So earlier I would say the candidate would seriously look at his career path when he became a manager. Today I would say when they become senior managers in a consulting firm, that they would really see a line of sight now to partnership. I'm sorry, I'm just talking about the final destination.
Visibility,
Because see what happens is, why did the person join KPMG? His or her final destination is to be a partner in the firm. That's where they want to get to. Now that line of sight, while they want to know where their career, because we do have a career path, we say okay, 2 years as assistant manager, 3 years as manager, all that is defined. But when they see that the firm is serious about them and they're also serious about their career, I mean that they want this life, because it's just not about becoming a partner, but do you really want this life? It's just not about at the end of it you want to be a partner, but you really want to live this kind of life, or you prefer a better life which has got more work-life balance. There's nothing wrong in it, it's different life. So I would say, earlier I would say manager. Today, because the sizes we have grown to, I would say senior manager. They have a visibility to whether they can make it to partner or not. And that's the time when they make their career choice. And they will decide whether they want to continue or they will move on. People do leave in, I'm not saying they don't leave, but these would be, you don't want to lose that talent then. Because this is a talent that has been there with you 10 years, who have been trained by you, and suddenly they're walking out of the door, and that's when you start getting worried.
See, one of the things what my observation have been typically in the consulting firms, you always look at a value of the businesses, and the role in functionally it looks very similar, but levels varies who manages it, because if you have a account which is giving you $2 million revenue, you have a different set of the people managing it. An account which is giving you a very nominal value, right? You have a different level and different set of the people those will managing it. Typically in an environment like us, definitely, I mean, it's a huge account, large account. There's a different set, different hierarchy will come to manage it, but in the similar functional areas, we may end up seeing a person with a 5 years experience also to manage the similar role, but maybe his value contribution would be 1/10 or the 1/5, right? So that's where sometimes, like once the person jumps to this, like even to a smaller role, which is low in the revenue, but they see that yes, if I manage this well, I can go up and down.
So if you look at consulting, I think Gitanjali mentioned that you have broadly, you have content expertise, and I'm not talking career path as grades, but you have content and you have business management, and project management is something I see it's fungible. You have to be a good project manager. So at least in Eonute, what we see that we give the flexibility to the colleagues when they join. So you have to, in the beginning, you must know all the things that we do, and then you will, they kind of hit a sweet spot that this is the area that I want to specialize in. So I want to be good in, let's say, HR technology or HR effectiveness. And there are few who will gravitate towards business management. And that kind of evolves in 3 to 4 years of their time that they spend with us.
Is there a training that is required at this stage? Is it that you are, Reena, please? It's at this stage, when you are growing into a career, from a job it's becoming a career, is there rigorous training happening at this stage
it's like
too?
Development opportunities which we provide at every stage, because giving a career itself doesn't mean anything, because it has to be coupled with the development opportunities. So we have to identify their strengths and what do they really aspire to be. So that's a regular process. So it cannot be kind of defined into at what stage we would be doing that, and that responsibility lies with the leader. So that responsibility of the leader to identify those areas of whatever the development opportunities, and then we provide. We provide higher education facilities as well within India, outside India, because they have to upgrade themselves, and that is where they will be, able to survive in this environment.
See, ideally, this whole thing which we're talking about is traditionally and logically linked to the performance management system. And ideally, that's what the environment is. When you know if you're interested in mobility, you're interested in undergoing certain training programs to upskill you, and that those conversations and those dialogues are taken into consideration when, let's say, me, the line manager, when I'm managing my reporting, and if there are development areas which I believe are there, and if there is an intervention which can help him move up the ladder, that's something which organizations will invest in. Eventually. It's an ongoing process.
Yeah, no, in Mercer we've got something called a CLP, Consulting Leadership Program, which every campus hire is put through. It's a 12-month program, and everything that we do on the program is sort of built on three learning pillars is what we call it. One is building leadership capability. So we start building leadership capability at the fresher level.
So that's when you are recruiting them from campus.
Absolutely. That's the first, they're on the program for 12 months, and they come off the CLP and then get into sort of a full-time role. This is, by the way, a rotational program across different verticals that we have. So it's leadership capability, it's business acumen, which is back to what you said, because clients don't want to know what you do, tax, you want to talk about KPMG as an offering, right, as a complete organization, as one entity. So similarly, we would like all our consultants to be able to talk intelligently about all of Mercer's offerings to clients and not go with one or the other. And the third is technical capability, so technical aptitude, and whether it's workshops, whether it's e-learning, or whatever those aspects of learning are. These are the three that form our whatever we do on the program. But just to digress a bit from here, I think in my experience, whether it's been consulting or industry, and you asked about what do you do differently for freshers versus laterals or someone who comes with experience. I've actually seen freshers doing as well, if not better, than people who've got 2 to 3 years of experience in the past and then done an MBA and joined the company when they come on board. I don't know what it is about freshers. I just love their passion, their zeal, their fresh thinking. They
It's a
are
clean slate.
fantastic. They're absolutely fantastic. And for me, philosophically,
Unpolluted mind.
unpolluted, yeah. Philosophically, I would never differentiate between compensation or the skills that I would impart to them. Just because someone's got 1 or 2 years of experience as against none, I wouldn't do that. So that's my view.
But I'll play devil's advocate here. Yes, we have. It's a very exciting group of people, no doubt about the fact. But they also worry me at times because you sometimes you will notice, and I'll give you examples where this group has a sense of high-handedness. They can be defiant very, very easily. They can rush. So if they don't like something, they can walk up to, let's say, Gitanjali tomorrow and say, you know what, Gitanjali, I don't think I signed up for this.
I don't want to roll my
Yeah,
sleeves.
I don't think, I don't think I can get my hands dirty. I don't think I can do financial modeling. So why did you apply for a career in SCI if you can't do financial modeling? Or if you envisage a career in investment banking, you have to, some skills are non-negotiable in a consulting
I think
environment.
Praranjit, we have to be ready to
Yeah.
handle the generation next because they are very
So therefore,
they demand the